Welcome everybody. Thank you guys for joining us for a fun video today. I was lucky enough to attend a 2-day race and skills clinic at Windrock Bike Park with none other than Aaron, Gwin, and Dakotah Norton as our coaches. It was an amazing weekend, and we're going to share with you guys what the return on investment could be for a 2-day or even a longer skills clinic with two of the best pros in the world. Let's go. Oh, yeah. Now, obviously, we spend a lot of time reviewing products, new bikes, gear, etc. But it's safe to say after spending 2 days at this clinic, I can guarantee that the best return on investment that's going to make you a faster and better rider isn't a new Gold Kashima Fox 40 fork. It's not even going to be this beautiful new Pivot Phoenix DH bike. Instead, it's going to be quality coaching from skilled and talented riders who, more importantly, can share their knowledge and experience with you in a good way.
We are here doing a riding clinic yesterday and today, a 2-day riding clinic. We got about 15 riders and just going through a bunch of different, everything from kind of like baseline technique stuff to more advanced like mental side of racing and kind of the things that I feel like that Dak and I can kind of talk about, relate to, and explain that maybe you would never hear somewhere else, like how we approach our race runs, the things we're thinking about, how we visualize a course and what our goals are when we drop in, a lot of that kind of stuff.
Aaron, Gwin, and Dakotah Norton are a dream team as far as coaching, mentoring, patiently explaining to you the goods and bads, the right and the wrong. Dakotah was more than once made fun of himself on how to not do it while pointing over to Aaron at how to do it. Now, Dakotah is a pretty humble guy, and obviously he's got plenty of skills, but his experiences from overtraining to burnout to crashing have really made him an awesome asset to this teaching and coaching program. And it's really cool to kind of have him talking from a place of experience on ways that he was so focused on achieving a goal or getting faster or getting to that top step, and it sometimes worked out to his detriment. And I think for amateur level riders like myself and so many others out there, it's really easy to just say, I gotta go faster, pedal harder, just ride past that ragged edge. And this clinic really showed me how to ride safer and faster. And we're gonna kind of go through just a couple of key moments in this video and show you guys some of the big takeaways that I had. So for me, some of the big standout principles that I had were building speed. It was something that Aaron particularly talked about a lot, building speed. And that is from the start gate. As soon as you cross that beam and get to the finish line, you are building speed. And you're not doing it like this, which I think is how a lot of riders, myself included, can tend to ride, right? It's kind of a panic brake, shut down, try to survive through a corner or a technical section, and then sprint as hard as you can to make up for blowing that corner or making a bad line because you were so amped up trying to go fast. Instead, you're building that momentum up in a safe and predictable and repeatable way. Another really big thing that stuck out to me is it's not always the inside line. It's not always the gnarly line. It's not always the line that no one else is riding that is the fastest. And again, speaking as a guy whose career isn't, am I the first one across that finish line? It's someone who just wants to go fast, but I also need to work. Aaron said particularly, there was one rock garden that we'll cut to, and there was basically kind of a longer outside line that was stair-steppy and rocked. And then there was an inside line, which, from a skills and confident perspective, it was a more challenging and technical line, and it was shorter because it was on the inside. And that was the line that a lot of guys just wanted to hit, right? It was more exciting to watch. It was more exciting to ride. And the difference was, right, Aaron and Dakotah hit that line training it. And Aaron went the easy line way around the outside, and Dakotah took the harder, more technical line through the inside. And as you'll see in the video, the exit speed out of that corner into the next straightaway was faster on the easier, longer roundabout line because that arc of that corner was maintained. And while the inside line had the potential to be faster, something that Aaron said was, what is the line that you can repeatedly ride faster, more predictably, and safer over and over and over? Like, not like 1 out of 5 times, but 4 out of 5 times. And as soon as he said that, you know, I thought about lines that, you know, if you hit it that one time perfect, you know, you might be able to take off a little bit of time. And then taking that a step further, Aaron's like, how much time, right? 0.2 of a second, maybe. Is 0.2 of a second worth the potential risk of a flat, going offline, blowing your exit speed out of that corner, versus that 0.2 of a second you could make up in a number of other places that are less consequential? So building momentum, repeatable, safe lines, exit speed. That was a huge one. And then the next one, which kind of goes along with exit speed, is braking with purpose. And that was one Dakotah really, really hammered on. And it's something that I realized, and probably most riders are not doing correctly, braking with purpose. So let's dive into some of those elements a little bit further. Hey guys, we're gonna take a quick second here. I just wanted to thank Jenson Bike Shipping for helping make this trip possible. We were traveling out to Tennessee for 2 weeks for a Thanksgiving vacation with the family. Got a little toddler, and dragging a bike through the airport, trying to make connecting flights with all of that going on, and then get picked up at the airport with a family's worth of luggage and a bike box just didn't sound like that much fun. So Jenson Bike Shipping, obviously you guys have probably heard of Jenson Bike Shop, one of the largest online retailers. So they're leveraging all that shipping and freight power and giving you guys some really competitive pricing, actually some of the most affordable bike shipping prices I've ever seen. And they're working with UPS to help deliver and get bikes where you need them to be most. Some of my favorite aspects about Jenson Bike Shipping is, since it is powered by UPS, you can obtain a label and get it printed at home and drop it off at any UPS shipping facility. Jenson Bike Shipping offers full refunds, so if you create a label and don't use it, you can get a refund in 30 days or less. And it's not just limited to bikes, so if you're shipping wheels, forks, things that you sell online, feel free, head over to Jenson Bike Shipping, get yourself a quote instant, one of the fastest quote times that we've ever seen, and some really impressive savings. So back to the trails. Dakotah and Aaron were teaching us to get up high so you can open the corner up. That was another big lesson we had, was opening up corners so that they're not as sharp. And again, you can build that speed and carry exit speed out of that turn. A lot of riders will sort of get sucked into or funneled down into the main line, which most often is not the best line, right? Like, it's where the most traffic goes, and the larger majority of riders, you know, aren't always executing the best line choice or the best technique, right? And so erosion comes, water comes, everything else is funneling you into the less desirable line from time to time. And so here these guys are teaching us to get up high on this bank and open that corner up so you're not getting funneled into a tight little squeeze point, having to fight, wiggle around trees, and then make a sharper turn than necessary. So moving into the braking with purpose, we actually came off the mountain and went out into the parking lot. They set up a nice little slalom section to kind of work on some quick cornering and, you know, power weight distribution between the pedals. But the next big step was the braking power and, you know, all out stopping distance test. And the goal here was to get riders to, well, for the coaches really, to see the riders how they would bias their bodies, how hard they were braking front to rear, and how quick they could control their bike and stop. And something that a lot of riders were doing was either skidding too much with the rear or extending themselves too far off the back. And here you can tell Dakotah explain to me why it's important to not get too far off the back.
You wanted to move your hips back, right? Because I think a big consensus with braking is you want to load the front, right? But then what ends up happening is if the front pushes, you're so far back here, there's no way to get back over the front and make it bite, right?
Okay.
So then it ends up going out from under you if you're pretty far defensively back.
Okay.
So I think if you can just go straight down and keep your shoulders
without
kind of
shifting,
bodied over or square over the front of the bike, then you're in a position where if it does do this, you can let off and correct. Your weight's not gonna get thrown so much, right?
Okay.
If you hit a root or something and you're back here,
yeah,
it's gone.
Right.
So maybe try to purposefully brake a bit more.
Okay. Okay.
Cool. They don't brake hard enough early enough, and then they end up getting into the corner, and once they start hitting bumps, the wheel starts locking up and then they get stood up. So what we're trying to do is get people to brake early, leave the brakes open so the suspension is active, and when the wheel's starting to come off the ground, it's not stopping the wheel, standing the rider up, and then causing them to get scared and have to brake in the apex of the corner.
So taking that cone test out in the parking lot and applying it to the trail, this was for me probably the biggest fundamental change in my riding. You know, while we were there, something that Dakotah especially was hammering in was you're either braking or you're accelerating. You're not doing anything else on the racetrack. So if you're not braking, you need to be accelerating. And to me, that was kind of an eye-opener, right? I think a lot of us are safety breakers or trail breakers where you're kind of riding, and if stuff's a little gnarly or a little steep, you're just kind of like hovering on and off on that brake, which is inhibiting the bike's optimal performance. You know, the suspension's not going to work as well because of the brake being on. You're going to make yourself a little more fatigued and tired by doing all that squeezing, and because it's stiffening up the bike suspension, you're going to be more prone to skidding accidentally or losing traction. So by braking with purpose and doing intensive braking, you are able to pick the spots where you're going to scrub and lose your speed, so that when you are not doing that, the rest of the time you're accelerating. So essentially what it meant for me was, rather than like safety braking, you know, my way down the trail, it was get that speed up, go fast, but then when you see a corner, instead of just another little scrub or kind of a drag through the corner, you just grab the brakes hard, forcefully, with purpose, to a speed that you feel comfortable letting go of those brakes and not touching them again until you're out of that turn. And to me, that was something that, like, oh, I know, don't brake in corners, but I never really translated that to brake as hard as you can before the corner so that you're at a speed that won't scare you, that will allow you to maintain traction and the radius of that turn aggressively, and so that you can push and pump out of that corner. And I think, to me, that was the biggest game changer. There was a lot of things that I learned in the course, but that was one that I am going to take out and use every day when I'm trail riding. And that's going to be, where am I going to be braking hard, so when I get into that next corner, I don't have to brake at all. I'm only going to be focusing on pumping and pushing and accelerating out of that corner. So thank you guys. That was a lesson I will carry with me as long as I can, and hopefully this video and getting it out will help it stick in my brain even more, and I can come back and rewatch this, although I'd much rather just go back for another clinic. So yeah, braking with purpose, huge, massive lesson, and one that I think was hugely impactful in my riding and hopefully into the future. Aside from that, we got into everything, like from bike setup, like cockpit bar roll, all that sort of stuff, all the way down to like training, and even a little bit of talk about nutrition for those that were more interested in that training side of things. But something that, like me, who hasn't really raced in a very long time, I'm still competitive and I still want to go fast, but I haven't really lined myself up in a start gate for quite a while. And we actually spent time in the start gate, and what I realized, kind of going back to the gnarly line, the inside line that might save you 0.2 of a second, by going up to a start gate and practicing your starts, maximizing your efficiency, the right gear that you're in, the launch out of that gate, that's going to save you that 2 seconds that you could have made up by taking the gnarly line, which could have derailed your race run. You're going to make that 2 seconds up there, and it's zero risk, right? Minimal risk. And that was a big thing that Aaron talked about a lot, was think about every place where you try to take the gnarliest, the craziest, the insidiest for a tenth, 2/10, maybe. And then think about every other spot on the track where you could make up that 1/10, that 2/10, and it's so much safer to do it. And that, he said, is the difference between riders that can largely reduce their risk for injury, crashing, or mechanicals, because there's so many people that blow speed or blow corners, and then those long transition stages, those straightaways between the really gnarly sections. That's where he says he focuses his efforts and energy on trying to make up time and win races. And that's because some people will be so hung up on trying to get the gnarliest line done that they don't have the exit speed to carry into that long traverse. Whereas if you can make that your focus, you're gonna pull away and gain a larger margin on a safer section of trail than risking it in a gnarly section, right? And again, those were some of the biggest takeaways for me as a rider who wants to be faster, but is also, gonna be 42 this month and doesn't want to get hurt, because getting hurt sucks and I have to work, right? I can't work if I'm hurt. So that was like something that really stood out to me, and is definitely, I think, some of the advantageous lessons that you can only learn from an experienced pro who can communicate those things in an effective way. So in closing, my final thoughts, right? As a 25-year mountain biker plus, right? With, a pretty decent background of riding with some very elite high-level riders at media camps and, bike launches all over. I can definitely say that, I've ridden with Aaron in the past several times, right? And I've ridden with lots of other amazing world-class professionals, and just trying to chase them, while it did push my boundaries of comfort and it did make me go faster, it didn't make me ride safer. Going to this camp made me ride faster and safer. And again, that is a huge thing for me, especially at this age, and right, and even hearing Dakotah and Aaron, who are a fair bit younger, it's important for them, because if they're not healthy, they're not racing. So for me, this type of a clinic, it was invaluable. The price tag, sure, depending on which course you're signing up for, how many days it is, it's an investment, right? And then you got to travel there and all that stuff, and I get it. But, for the price of of some components, right? This, that, the other, whatever you call it, like, all this stuff's expensive. But to me, the return on investment for riding performance, for speed, for safety, I feel like there's no better investment that I could have made into my riding skills than going to a clinic like this. Not to mention, sure, it's cool to take a picture of a shiny brand new bike with lots of gold bits on it, but going out and getting to spend a couple of days riding with some awesome people, especially, Aaron and Dakotah, who are also awesome people and just extremely skilled on a bike, and being able to watch them ride stuff at the speed they ride it and how easy and smooth they make it look. That's better than an Instagram picture of a shiny new bike in my book, and it's definitely something that I will be saving up for to go do and attend in the future. And again, we don't get a kickback, we don't get a commission, we're not trying to, sell tickets for these guys, we're not a booking agent. But what I can say is I absolutely had an amazing time, a fun time, and what I learned and took away from that camp are invaluable lessons that I will carry with me long after I forget what new part I bought on my bike to go to that trip on, right? So yeah, for what it's worth, I think a skills clinic with quality instructors is gonna be hugely important and beneficial. I would like to thank Aaron and Dakotah both for having me out there, as well as Cheyenne, Dakotah's sister, who's out there shooting some awesome photos, which we will link and share in our story out on the loamwolf.com. So if you want to go check it out, we'll also have a link if you guys do want to go to Aaron's Racing Academy or Windrock Bike Park. I don't even know what their website's going to be for it, but we'll link that so you guys can go check it out. Thank you guys for coming along and hearing about my experience at the Skills Clinic. If you have any questions or thoughts about this, any other clinics that you've attended personally that you think would be fun to have us check out, please let us know. Thanks again, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you out on the trails.